there, this is Amy. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. Tonight I'm going to show you how I painted this hydrangea inspired design on a large 20-ounce white wine glass by Libby Glass. And I had some video problems where my card wasn't reading, and I was trying to do the video and then realized that it wasn't reading, so I actually had started to paint the glass, so I'm not gonna stop that. I'm going to show you where I got started with it, putting the leaves on first. Paint I'm using is Moon Yellow, Berry Wine, Wicker White, Citrus Green, and these are all the multi-surface by Folk Art. And then I'm using Thicket, which is the Folk Art enamel paint. For the brushes, I'm using two flat brushes, a number 10 and a number 12. These are the Plaid One Stroke brushes, and I have my one double loaded with the Citrus Green and the Thicket to start painting those leaves. And then a dotting tool that I'll be using to do the little inside dots for the blooms. So anyways, I'm sorry that I had some technical difficulties, but I'm going to go ahead and keep going here. I had stated on, when I was previously doing this, that I'm doing most of the leaves are going to be on the the green is going to be on the outer, the light green, excuse me, is going to be on the outer edges of my leaves. However, some will actually have the dark on the outside. So I'm just kind of rotating them a little bit. Now, this is kind of different than what I typically do, because typically I am painting the design, like the flower first, and adding in the leaves. But with this type of a design, I kind of feel like with the excuse me, the hydrangeas, that they tend to, it's almost like the bloom kind of sticks up more than the leaves, if you know what I mean. So I thought this would probably be a good one to just go ahead and paint the leaves first. Now I'm going to add some leaves to it once I'm finished, but typically, I just kind of, when I think of a hydrangea, that's what I think of. So I'm going to have 3 blooms, meaning 3 of the hydrangea blooms. This leaf that I'm doing is my pretty common leaf that I do most of the time. I just really enjoy it. Sometimes I start it at a different point than, sometimes it's more down like this as opposed to like the heart shape. That's what I mean. But there's so many different types of leaves that you can paint. And I'm trying to go over these a couple times while I'm painting them, just to get a more opaque look. That's why I'm doing it. And kind of pulling a little stem there. And then this one is where I'm going to, this is what I'm talking about, as far as the outer side having the darker green. And these are just kind of wiggled in, come to a point. The only bad thing about doing the leaves first is that I've got to hit them with a heat gun before I start painting my design for the flower part, or else it will actually, pull the paint off and kind of bleed. So if you wonder why I'm doing it that way, that's the reason. Because typically it doesn't bother me, but in this situation I think it really needs to be dried first. And if you don't have a heat gun, or you don't want to use your hair dryer for this purpose, just let it dry for a little bit if you want. If it doesn't bother you, then continue on. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a lighter green on the outside again. Like I said, it's pretty easy pattern. And if you're new to my channel, that's my point of doing these videos, is to give people an idea of a design that they're welcome to do, so that they can feel successful doing their own painted glass. And you can arrange, you know, you can do some of these leaves bigger, smaller, all the same size or similar in size if you want. It doesn't really matter. Alright, and then I'm going to continue on over here and do my last set of leaves. Here I'm going to go with another darker on the outside. I just feel like it gives it a nice look when you're kind of rotating them. And like I said, if you want to throw some different kinds of leaves in the mix, you know, that's great. I just happen to like doing this style of leaf. To me it's fun, so that's what I do. And you just give your brush like a little wiggle. I even tap on mine some. You probably noticed that I'm not always doing a continuous mopping motion or wiggle motion. That kind of helps me get the paint on thicker. Whoops, did that one wrong. I shouldn't say wrong, but that's not what I was intending to do. And we'll pull that this way. And of course your blooms that you're going to be creating do not have to be the same size either. They can be similar in size. They can, you know, if you actually want to do more of a cluster together, you can do that. I am just going to kind of, oops, it kind of has like a little chunk in the paint. Just kind of spread them out just for the purpose of this design. But you know that when you're a real hydrangea has a lot of bundles that are kind of close together, you know, close to each other. Not as spread out as what my glass design is looking, but that's, you know, how I wanted it. That was on purpose. I got a little hole here in the middle. I want to cover up. I'm just going to bring it through there. And like I said, you can vary the amount of leaves you have. It doesn't have to be the same amount on each bundle. I think I did better on my demo glass doing that than I am on this one for some reason. Okay. But you just kind of have to eyeball it and say, where else do I want to leave? Well, you know what? I think I'm going to put one down here. And that's kind of what I did once I was done, because I do throw some of the just a basic simple one stroke kind of single easy leaf into it. Okay. Alrighty, so I think I'm going to stop with adding the leaves right at this moment, and I'm going to hit it with the dryer and I will be back. Okay, so I went ahead and hit it a little bit with my heat gun, And now I'm going to go ahead and start the bud, the flower part. I don't know, I keep calling it bud. Now, when you're doing this, you can do it a couple different ways. I am just going to go through and just add a simple little design like this to kind of plan out my bloom. And the importance of doing this, and you could use the actual stroke of the flower if you wanted to, is to plan it out. Make sure you're covering, make sure it's the shape that you want it to be, or at least close to that. It doesn't have to be identical, or not identical, but perfect, because you're going to paint over this with the actual stroke of the petals for this flower. But this gives you a guideline. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in, because I want to try to make sure that my flower bloom is actually covering up some of them, doesn't have to be all, of the little stems that I put into my leaves. So it makes sense, basically. So I'm just doing, with the number 10 brush, just doing a quick little, little, I don't know what kind of a stroke, it's not really a specific stroke. And then I'm going to go in here, and now you don't have to go all the way around it. You could actually just start hitting the blooms, or you could actually just start, doing the blooms of the flower without doing this, and then just gauge it as you're designing it, painting it. However, I want to just do it this way for right now, and I'm not typically used to doing it this way. It's just something I kind of learned recently. I thought, well, I'll give it a try on this design and see if I like it. Okay, so basically with this style of flower, I am going to, it's just really easy, very easy. You just kind of go up and then back. And you can do 4 or 5 petals for the flower. It doesn't really matter. In the past, when I've done these, a lot of times I will have 2 different colors, or I'll rotate, having some of the leaves of the flower, some of the flower petals be, like, say, white, and then some of them have the berry wine color as the, as the tip. Oops, just like I just started to do that. I said that and then I did it. Hold on for just a second. I need to wash my brush out. Sorry about that. I ended up dipping that into my green also. I don't know how I did that, but I did. Alright, so starting again, I'm going to go in here and just pull it up. I'm going to go in here and pull it up. Now, when you're doing this, you can just do partial flowers, just kind of fill in. Don't have to do the whole thing. Meaning that, like, say right here, I could just do a couple strokes like that if I wanted to. Now I know how I did it. I hit the edge of my plate and it has green on it. Okay, so say on this one I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to turn it and continue on. So, like, say on this one I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do more of the petals, and they'll come up through there and then come up through this next flower, because they're kind of overlapping. That's why I say you can do that, or you can have this, like the ones that we did around the edge, look like it's actually the bud that you're painting right now. Even with having dried it, it is coming through, with the green. In the other glass, I had actually let it sit for a little bit before I started painting it. But I'm going to go like that. See, this is where I think it helps if you rotate the colors. And sometimes I even put a different color. Like say if I'm doing a light blue hydrangea, I will do a darker blue in it too. It just adds some interest to it. But you don't have to. You know, it's like anything. There's other ways to do it. If you do it a different way, I'd love to hear. If you like this design, if you think it's something that's easy enough for you to paint, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Alright, so, I mean, you can keep layering it here if you want. I'm going to continue on with my next bloom. Once again, I'm just going to go around it and do this. And initially, like so, when you're doing this, you could make this type of a design around instead of doing what I initially did. That's fine as well. And you come back. And you go up. And you come back. And you go up. And you come back. Up and back. Up and back. So your flower ends up being a little bit bigger a lot of times than what you started out with the circle that you created, but it's still a guideline for the shape. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle by any means. Alright, so let's continue on here. On this one, I'm going to go up, down, up, down. I'm going to go ahead and create a whole flower basically. I'm going to keep taking my excess paint off because I don't want it to get too muddled. And do the same here. I'm going to go up and over, up and over. Now this is where, like I said, you could see that there's a partial flower there, but I'm going to go ahead and make it a full flower, not a partial. But by having these tips like I have them, you know, you can easily leave them and not do anything over them, because it just looks like with the layering that's all it is there's a full flower underneath it. That's why I went around it like I did, because I know that it'll look like that. Like I said, there's one that I added an extra little petal to. And I have to mention something else too, if you're not noticing. I am a lefty, so the way I'm starting my design will very well be different than the way you would start yours. A lot of times we start in different directions depending on what hand we paint with. So if you're finding you're trying my design and you're saying, oh, this is not working out too well, why is this so difficult? If you're right-handed, try going the other direction with it. And meaning if I'm starting to the right and going around to the left, you will probably want to start to the left and go around to the right. Anytime I make a design, that's something that you have to keep in mind. Now, being a lefty, a lot of times I've had to teach myself how to do something because I couldn't do it the way the right-handed person was doing it. It just didn't make sense to me or to my brain. But I do like to mention that. Alright, here we go again. I'm just going to go around and make this design. And if you don't get, like say there's a little bit there, it's okay. Because again, you're layering your design. So it doesn't matter. This is just to help you have a guideline, and then you can go add the design that you're trying to paint, which will cover up the underlying design that you painted to give you a guideline. So that's fine. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you're new to my channel, please make sure that you help me grow my channel by subscribing. Hit the bell so that you get notifications whenever I post something new. When I'm done with this video, if you like this video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and that you share it with your friends. It's very important that I get my channel out to everybody so that it'll help me grow. I enjoy doing this, and I want to be able to continue doing this as I get older. And that's one reason I'm working so hard on it now at this point in my life, is because I want to have something to do as I get older and, you know, still be in contact with people and on the internet. I don't want to be afraid of technology as I get older. I want to be open to learning. And then I just keep adding. And like I said, you can keep turning it and adding design. You know, however you feel comfortable doing it. Yeah, this is just a basic. I don't like to have too much paint on my brush either. I keep scraping it off. But this is just a basic how-to, how I do it, or how I would do it. How you can do it if you want to. If you have a better way to do it, that's great. A lot of times you'll find there's always more than one way to do something. It doesn't mean it's wrong or right. If it's easier for you, you've got a better way, then do it, of course. Not a problem. My goal is just to share designs with you so that you can paint. And, you know, if you're somebody that's just getting involved in it, that's what I'm trying to help. Because I think we've all been there at some point in our lives. Some may have forgotten that. Okay. Alright, so let me do a couple more here because I feel like I have my ones like that. Okay. Alright, so there's my, yeah, that would be my third one. Alright, so the next step I'm going to do is get my school bus, no, excuse me, it's moon yellow. It looks like school bus yellow, but it's moon. Get my dotting tool, and I'm going to start adding centers here. And I'm basically just doing 2 dots of each color and what I would perceive as being the center. I might even give, if I'm seeing like a petal underneath, just to give it some color, give it a couple dots or a dot. And that's purely, like I said, just to make sure I'm adding some color to this design, because I think that makes it pop a little bit more, even if that technically isn't the center. Because once you're doing this, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell which flower is which flower, or what part of the flower you're actually looking at, I should say. Alright, let me see if I just like the color, having some color to it. Just light little dots, nothing fancy, nothing hard. Something fairly easy. Say bing bing. Just throw a little dot in there, just kind of even it out. Let me see here. I'll do a couple here. Okay, so then my next thing is to go back to my awesome citrus green. We're almost done. I appreciate you bearing with me here. And then I'm just going to dot on either side just quickly. And if it's a one dot, I'm just doing one dot of green beside it. Two dots like that. They don't have to be right close together. Be in this vicinity, but not right on top of each other. Or they can be. And so it just kind of gives it some color. I like that. And you can choose different colors for your center. Originally, the design that I was looking at had red. And when I did a sample draw or sample painting, you couldn't see it because the berry wine was too close to it. Alright, I have one in there. Like I said, it just gives it some interest to put some color to the centers. And I like making dots. My favorite thing to paint are flowers, so that's why you're seeing this. Alright, so I think I'm done with that part. Now the last thing to do is kind of take a look at the glass and see where you might want to put in some more leaves. And I'm looking right here, there seems to be an opening, and I just like to kind of just do them. And also, if you feel like you should have more of the bigger leaves, the wavy leaves as I want to refer to them, then do it. Go ahead and put those on there now if you feel like you need more of those. And there might be calls for that, like right here. I think I might do that just to kind of put these together. It's okay. And they can overlap a little bit. That's great. But again, my main goal is to have them be opaque. And that's why I like to kind of go over them again to do that. That's why you're seeing me do this. So once again, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel and you like my video, please make sure that you do that now. If you do like this video, please make sure that you give me a big thumbs up. And please share this with your friends. I would certainly appreciate it. Again, it'll help me grow my channel, and I can keep doing this and growing and learning as I grow. This is important. If you have any questions or anything in particular you'd like to see me do, please make sure you comment below. If you just want to give a shout out and say, hey, that's awesome, say hey. If you're somebody that follows me regularly, I'd love to hear from you. Don't be afraid to comment. And I think down here, I'm going to throw another wiggle in here. This one, once again, I am leaving the stem blank. It is fun to design or to paint the stems, add some more interest to them, but I'm not going to do that on this particular glass. Alright, I think I'm done for right now. Again, I appreciate you stopping by. Let me know if there's any questions, comments. I would love to hear from you. And here we go. Two beautiful glasses, or they were until I bumped them. Ah, Amy. Alright, so here you go, and I do appreciate you stopping by, and thanks again, and cheers!